Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. It is August 11th, 2025. I apologize for the absence for the last week. Had a pretty big life change that I was not expecting. I got laid off from my full-time job. Thank you, Jerome Powell, for not dropping the rate, which 100%. 100% was the reason that I got laid off. It came, 4 days after the fact that they not dropped it. The industry that I was in the trucking industry. I used to be a driver, and then I went in the office, and I was working about our over-the-road dispatch area. And we did a lot of building materials, a lot of lumber, you name it, we moved it. And because nothing's building, because the rate won't drop, our over-the-road work died out. And as a result, my position got eliminated. Now, it may come back at some point, and I was told if they'd offer me the job back. But yeah, so it was kind of a long week. You don't realize how much paperwork and all this other crap that you have to do when you get laid off. And they were gracious. The company was nice. My bosses were nice. They were very, very polite. But I love the fact the chat room's already given me hell. If you want to get in the chat, you can do that on youtube.com, search SHR Media and go to the live. But yeah, no, I mean, my bosses were good. I was understanding. It's business. It sucks. The timing sucks. But what ends up happening is you have to do all of this stuff and fill out all of this paperwork. It kills me that when you get a job, you have to fill out a bunch of paperwork. When you lose a job, you have to do a bunch of paperwork. And I did have to do a bunch of paperwork. And then, fix your resume, send out applications. You just got to do the whole rigmarole that you're not, especially when you're not expecting it. And Canadian Heavy Haul, his wife's losing her job tomorrow. It's horrible. Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's another one. He's in the trucking industry. He'll tell you. I'm sure up there, even our Fed rate. It's just why I have so much issue with the Fed and Jerome Powell. And you had two governors vote to lower the rate, and he didn't. Two governors on the board, I should say, the Fed. And he didn't, and he should have. All the supporters are out there saying, oh, he's protecting us from inflation. Inflation's not going to go. I don't think it's going to go. Well, I know I'm no financial expert, but you know what? He could have dropped it even a little bit. A little bit of good faith would have gotten people building again. And yeah. So that's where it is right now. So I'm back. I apologize for my absence. Thank you for those who came back. Ricky Robinson's in the chat. Andrew Young's in the chat. Thank you, Andrew. He's number 69th in the chat room. I appreciate that. BZ masquerading as SHR Media in the chat room. I appreciate you. Yeah, Canadian Heavy Haul, you may get some more specials for the time being until I can get something else lined up. I may do a little bit more here and there now that I can actually kind of take my breath and kind of get back to a little bit, well, what's normal for me. So we're going to get right into it. And thank you for everybody who reached out. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Mission Ready Men's in the chat has an awesome new logo. I really like that, Mission Ready Men. But I had a whole bunch of family and friends, and I'll tell you, when for those who don't know me, my last 5 years have been a little bit of a grind personally, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of struggles with the kids and all that other stuff. And this couldn't have come at a worse time, to be completely honest. I can come drive for you. Yeah, I know, but the commute all the way up to Canada. Plus, I don't even know. Look, all joking aside, if they did any research as to who I am when I was going over the border, they may not let me into the country for some of the things that I've said. But yeah, so it sucked. Boo hoo, get over it. But the amount of people that reached out to me and the amount of family and friends who stepped up and at least gave me some support and gave me just that pat on the back that sometimes you need, because like I said, it wasn't my fault. I have a piece of paper that says that. It was a business decision, and it still sucks though. It still sucks. So, but let's get into it. Enough about me and my rough week. Let's talk about, well, Adam Schiff's soon to be rough week. Fox News posted this tonight at 6:42 Pacific Pacific time to their website. Democratic whistleblower told FBI that Adam Schiff approved classified leaks to target Trump. Now, everybody knows that Adam Schiff is the biggest and worst liar in Congress. That's just proven. You go back to everything that he said he had on Trump. You went back to him, even about the Hunter Biden laptop, everything he said he had on Trump. Remember, he was the one who got duped by the two Russian DJs who told him they had video of Donald Trump getting urinated on by prostitutes in Russia. That's how dumb this guy was, and that's how much they feared Donald Trump. Intelligence staffer who worked for House Democrats. So this isn't even, and they have whistleblower protection. This isn't even a conservative who just happened to have heard things. No, it's an intelligence staffer who worked for House Democrats, called the behavior treasonous and illegal. I hate when they throw the term treasonous around, because treasonous is very specific in the U.S. code, but this is highly illegal. Long live Alberta. It's got to be Berta beef, right? So let's get into the story a little bit. Democratic whistleblower told the FBI that Adam Schiff approved leaking classified information in order to discredit President Donald Trump, according to a newly released document. Think about how deranged, how desperate, how much you hate our American processes, and how little you cared about classified documents if you will release them in order to get a political gain. Now, remember, the opposite of that was the 95, however many defense or national security experts that signed the thing saying Hunter's laptop was Russian disinformation. This is the opposite of that. Like, this is, if you have that on this side of the shit coin, the very far other side of the shit coin is releasing classified information versus claiming something is a Russian operation. It's insane to me. The documents were obtained by Just the News, who recently handed over to Congress by FBI Director Kash Patel. The whistleblower worked for the Democrats' House Intel Committee for over 10 years. So I don't want to hear this is a plant. They planted him. He got planted just before. No, this whistleblower worked for the Intel Committee for 10 years and reported this. This is not going to shock anybody. Jersey Joe, welcome to chat. Facebook user, I don't know what your name is, but welcome to chat. I can't see the names on Facebook through this screen, and I apologize. But They reported this behavior to the FBI in 2017. Who was in charge of the FBI? Oh, that's right. We all know who it was. It was the shithead. According to the intelligence staffer, calling the leaking treasonous. Now, depending on what was leaked or supposed to be leaked, it could be a matter of treason. I don't know. I don't know what the intent of the leak was other than to disparage Trump. We would need more information. But I pointed out to even people I like that we use the treason word too much because not everything that we don't like is treasonous. And I think that it belittles the act of actual treason to call everything treasonous. Call it what it is. It's a felony. It's a crime. And that's okay. It can still be a 25 to 50-year crime for releasing and stealing classified information. It's just not treason. The staffer who said he personally attended a meeting where Schiff greenlit the leak. So you have a member of the Intel Committee, an elected representative at that time, who is sitting in this meeting. They have classified information that they think would hurt Trump's presidency, because this is in 2017. And he okays it. He says, yeah, sure, let's release that. That'll be perfect. Classified, who gives a shit? It doesn't mean anything. We're DC. I'm untouchable. I'm Adam Schiff. When working in this capacity, the staffer's name was called to an all-staff meeting by Schiff, the document said. In the meeting, Schiff stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to President Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used as an indictment for Trump. Now, we knew they were planning. You remember the soft coup, right? It was all a soft coup leading up to Trump getting into office. They were trying to get him to never get sworn in. Once he was sworn in, they pushed the Russian disinformation. They absolutely looking for a reason to impeach and indict him. They were just looking for it, which tells you just, and when everyone, this pisses me off because this sort of shit started under Obama. This evil politics where it goes beyond just regular old politics of like, oh, this guy got pork for this bill, blah, blah. No, this is different. It's not say what you can to make sure he doesn't get elected, prove and have a better stance than your opponent, or maybe exaggerate some of his techniques and qualities a little bit, i.e. leaving dogs on the roof. And I was no Romney fan. But no, this went to cutthroat. This is where it all started, that cutthroat politics where we will absolutely do whatever it takes, lie, cheat, and steal, no matter what it does to the country to hold power. But they say we are the ones who want a dictator. They say we are the ones that want to destroy the Constitution. No, they've been doing this for years. For years. Because there was no evidence. 100% there was no evidence, Canada Heavy Hall. The whistleblower stated this will be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, an unnamed member of the meeting reassured that they would not get caught leaking classified information. Hey guys, this is illegal. Don't worry, we won't get caught. If that's not the most mafioso approach to it, instead of being like, oh gosh, you're right, maybe we should rethink this, or another member of the committee coming over and go, hey, you know what, I'm with you. I don't think this is a good idea. We should probably go tell somebody. They didn't do that. They just patted him on the back, or her, it's a whistleblower, I don't know the name, and said, no, it's fine. This is okay. We won't get caught. Oh, so you won't get caught, so it's okay. And to the whistleblower's credit, they still went. And you got to remember at that time, the FBI, this is Strzok, Page, that era of the FBI was completely in the pocket of the Democrats. They were actively working against Trump. We know this now, the FISA warrants, yada, yada, yada. And knowing all of that, and the person worked in the Intel Committee for 10 years, I don't think they're an idiot. But even they said, nope, you know what? This is bad enough where I'm going to bring it to the FBI and the right thing's going to be done. And guess what? The right fucking thing was not done. They hid it. This is in 2017. It's just coming out now. How do we know that? Because Kash Patel tweeted, say, we found it, we declassified it. Now Congress could see how classified info was leaked to shape political narratives and decide if our institutions were weaponized against the American people. I say yes. Soon after the report was published, Patel posted this on X, and that is where we are now. Now, when we talk about weaponization of government, this is exactly what we are talking about. This sort of behavior, where you release classified information, something that, by the way, remember all the talks about SCIFs and how you have to go into a SCIF and classified information only in a SCIF? But they had a copy of it, and they were using it or planning to use it against Trump. BZ says, yeah, they found out about it 8 years later. Yeah. Kash Patel finally found it and said, oh, wait a minute. This whistleblower, by the way, it's going to be interesting to see how their career went after they reported this. Were they protected? Did they get the legal whistleblower protection? Or did they lose their job or shuffled off into a different position? Or worse, was their livelihood or well-being threatened? And you can't at this point tell me that that's not possible, because we had an FBI who was acting like a mafia, right? I mean, this goes back to, the whole, everything under Obama, right? You had the IRS targeting conservative parties. You had the FBI targeting people protesting abortions, all of this stuff. And they were going at them brutally, going after anything that was conservative brutally. You hear talk about, or you hear about the left talking about ICE right now and how ICE is acting like, oh, they're like the Gestapo and they're the brown shirts and blah, 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 blah. No. They're going out and getting illegals who aren't supposed to be in this country to send them home. That's literally what their job is. 100% what their job is. Protect the border from people coming in, getting people and sending them the fuck home. That's what their job is. The FBI's job was not to be the enforcement arm for the left. And I sat on my show back then. I sat on other people's shows back then, and we all said it. They were the modern day brown shirts. They, for years, they called Trump Hitler and a fascist and all this other stuff. Go look at what they were doing. Yes, they accuse us of what they've been doing. They were acting like fascists. They were acting like the Gestapo. And the one thing about the federal government is they don't just get you the one way. So it wasn't just the FBI. It was the IRS and other agencies. Oh, you owned a business? Better send the EPA in. That's how the federal government works. And most of the time, it's at the initiation of the FBI. The FBI turns around and says, hey, here's this person we're trying to look at and find something on. And all the other agencies get on board. Oh, the EPA is going to look. The IRS is going to look. Who knows? You pick one. The Maritime Association is going to look, or whatever it is. The NOAA is going to look. And they all, at the time, had administrative actions they could take against businesses and people, yada, yada, yada. That is how they would get people. That is how they would grind them down. You don't need a night of the long knives when you can just pick people off individually. And even if you just make them irrelevant or you turn them into a felon. And when you turn them into a felon, now you have that to hold as leverage constantly over them, even if the charges were entirely bullshit. This wasn't even what I was going to talk about tonight. I was going to talk about how the Democrats are single-handedly destroying themselves. But this is right at the front of the list. This is another reason. This tells you that they were so convinced they were never going to lose power that they were going to pull all of this bullshit. You don't do this unless you think you are going to be completely insulated from any sort of backlash. Unless you're a complete moron. I mean, which Schiff is. Don't get me wrong. But that whole attitude that they have of, oh, we can do whatever we want. Who's going to hold us accountable because we're never going to lose power? You have to ask yourself, why were they so convinced that they would never lose power? It's almost like saying shit on the internet. You can't say something nowadays as a politician and not have it come back to bite you in the ass. A Cosmic Bard, good evening, sir. Thank you for being here. No, they had reason to believe that they were never, ever, ever going to lose power. They had reason to believe that anything they did would be protected, covered up, or never would they be put in a situation where it would come back to bite them in the ass. And it wasn't just Schiff. This is just one example. And yes, everybody's going to jump on this because it's Schiff and he deserves this sort of negative attention for everything that he's done. But it wasn't just Schiff. Think back to Pelosi. Think back to all of these people openly, open insider trading like it was nothing. This is who we're dealing with. This is who we have dealt with. These were people so convinced that they would remain in power, that their party would control all the strings for eternity, that they would absolutely risk it all. This is risking it all. This is a major allegation. This is a major act by a sitting representative at that time to want to release classified information. And you wonder why Trump started to strip everybody of their national security clearance. You wonder why he made certain actions. This is why he knew all of this on some level. I don't know if even he knew the depth of it. And you have to remember, this all happened before he got shot. This was the government working against him yet again. The fake FISA warrants, the wiretaps, the list goes on and on. Russian disinformation, the Steele dossier, the Biden laptop. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This is why they were willing to do anything to keep him from getting elected again. Because the reason the Democrats are polling at 33% with 63% of their own party not approving of how they're doing, there's a reason for that. Because it's all getting exposed. I'll tell you right now, you see a lot of these social media influencers out there saying, oh, you know, a lot of Trump supporters are really regretting their choice. No. No, you're only seeing that because the algorithm wants you to see that, and a whole bunch of pinheads are saying that. The reality is all of the polls recently, all the Democratic polls from New York Times, I think Pew did one. There was like 7 or 8 done in the last couple months, and all of them have them between 32 and 34% approval rating. This is why they freak out over everything now. Everything. This is why all of their social media has changed since the election. They're no longer just throwing out what their theories are and their ideas. No, it's all volatile. It's all offensive. You look at Gavin Newsom. I have never seen a man who has had such an erection for another man in my life. Gavin Newsom is absolutely obsessed with Trump, or Ben, his little dude that does his social media is. That's all he does now. It's all anti-Trump. He doesn't do anything for the state of California. He spends his time campaigning, which is what he is doing, campaigning for presidency against a guy who's not going to be running for president. I know he says it because it pisses people off. I might run again. That's just Trump just goating people. It's what he does best. But that's what Newsom's doing. That's his whole, he wants to, this brings us to the Texas California redistricting thing. So in Texas's constitution, every half a decade, there's a big word for it, biennial or biennial or whatever. I was never good with it. I know annual and semi-annual, and then I usually chop it off right there. But essentially every half a decade, based on their census, etc., they can right? They can redistrict their lines in their state, and that could add or remove seats in certain areas that could then get a Democrat or a Republican, depending on how they rewrote the lines, more seats in the House of Representatives. It is legal. It is in their state constitution. They don't have to change anything. This is why their Democrats run away, because they can't be forced to vote. This is why they're being little bitches and running to California and hiding behind all these bigger name people who you actually know, because you don't know who any of those those Texas state Democrats are. You will after this. A couple of them, this will be their little boost in order to try to get onto a federal level. And California is turning around. And Newsom says, "Oh, we're gonna do the same thing." Except the California Constitution, the voters, 20 years ago now? I think it was 20 years ago, voted that it had to be done by a citizen review board. That's who redistricted based on censuses. On the census. Censuses isn't a word. On the census. And Newsom says, "Well, if Texas is going to redo it, we're going to redo it." Okay, well, how are you going to do that? Because you can't just have it needs to be on the ballot, because that's how it became a law. That's the way it works. So you need to hold a special election. Well, son of a bitch. In a state that's already in a budget crisis and is $40 billion in the hole or some ridiculous thing for their budget, Newsom wants to spend $200 to $250 million on a special election that all the polling shows could go either way as to whether or not they approve it. That is him having this tremendous hard-on for Trump, for a guy he's not even going to campaign against, for a guy he's not even going to debate. Well, what about our seats? Well, if you go through, there's a bunch of other states who've done redistricting and the so-called gerrymandering. You can call it what you want. Is it gerrymandering? Sure. You had Massachusetts, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and there's a couple others. The point is, states do have the right to do it, whether you like it or not. But Governor Newsom wants to spend $250 million taxpayer dollars to have this special election, because as it stands right now, Republicans could gain 5 seats in Texas and give them full control of the House in the midterms if everything goes this way. This also has to tell you what the inside Democrat polling is for the midterms and why it doesn't look good for them. Because if it looked good for them, they probably wouldn't be going this far with it. Massachusetts, California, Illinois, all these other states that are already gerrymandered so the Dems win, and nobody ever complained about that. Look, it's just part of the way it is. Whether you like it or not, it's been happening for 249 years, almost 250 years. Right, wrong, or indifferent. But there's a difference between saying, well, this is already in our Constitution, we're going to do it, and even though the people voted on this, I don't like it for my party, so I'm going to make the whole state pay $250 million and take a chance that we might be able to redistrict and offset those 5 seats. I laughed at, of all people, Adam Kinzinger has been very quiet about this, which is even funnier because he lost his seat due to redistricting. I don't know if he said something the last few days. I checked out for a while, but yeah, it's just, this is all the Democrats doing what people don't want them to do. They're having fights their people don't want them to have. Right? I mean, there's a reason they're at 33%. It's because they're not leading. They're just fighting. They're fighting every chance they get, any chance they get, against whoever they can get a fight with on the other side. All they care about right now is looking tough on social media, getting their sound bites in, and raising money. They're not actively trying to do anything. There is no leadership in the Democratic Party right now. None whatsoever. You have so many people, when the squad started to form years ago, the commies of gerrymandered California. So yeah, it does have blue balls. When the squad first came to rise years ago, when they first started getting attention, and I can remember we were covering it, and they were starting to say things against Democrats and like, well, the leadership needs to do more, and we're going to do this, and if the Democrat leadership doesn't like it, that's too damn bad. And then Nancy Pelosi turned around and said, ladies, come here. Let's have a conversation. You need to mind yourself. You need to know where you belong and know your place and shut up about certain things. Run it through us. We need to have this unified message going forward because that's how we look like we're being effective. Now, I think Nancy Pelosi's a piece of garbage. However, she kept her crew in line. That is not happening at all in either side, either the senior house or the House of Representatives. It's not happening. And we're going to go further into that after the break. Look, please like the episode, subscribe to the channel if you haven't had a chance to yet. We're right around 600. We can get there if we try. If you want to get in the conversation, go to YouTube, SHR Media, click, jump in the conversation. There's some great chatters in there right now. Make sure you check out our friends over at KLRN Radio. They're all over social media as well. You can find them on X and watch all their shows live. I'll be back in just like 2 minutes, so stay there.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional. But it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-885-81776. Your escape awaits.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out 7 Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with 7 Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. BZ in the chat room says, don't be assumptive to think the Democrats have shot themselves completely. How do Republicans historically lose? They don't turn out to vote no matter what the issues are. Yes. BZ, because I'm saying one doesn't make the other untrue. Absolutely, Republicans and conservatives do have a tendency to shoot themselves in the foot. Ricky's taking off. He's jumping the phone. Rick, thanks for jumping in tonight into chat. SHR is 3 subscribers away from 600. Be awesome if we could do that tonight. Raul, well, Trump was working at McDonald's. Kamala was working at Five Guys. Oh, yes. Drop more boxes than Tyson. Raul, thank you so much for joining us this evening. So let's talk about DC. So I knew when my phone started blowing up today that something interesting happened. And again, like I said, I was checked out most of last week. I had bigger fish to fry than politics. But today, Trump invoked 740, the Home Rule Act, and essentially took over the public safety responsibility in DC, including the police department, for the next 30 days. If it goes beyond 30 days, Congress has to approve it. Why is that? Everyone says, oh, their crime has really been down lately. And, it's not as bad as it is. And Mario Bowser's, we have the best schools. They don't. If you look, their schools have a couple of good schools and a bunch of horrible ones for the public schools. Their reading and their math is like ranked number 48th in the country. We have great parks. Yeah, they're federal parks. They're federal parks. The federal government takes care of those. So yes. And they also throw it out there with, our crime rate's going down. Yet our transit system. That was the other thing she threw out. We have one of the best transit systems. Yeah, well, it takes almost $650 million of federal taxpayer money a year to make it good. The Washington, D.C. it's not even a territory. It doesn't technically fall under the territories like Puerto Rico and Guam. It is the location of the U.S. government. It is where the country is run from. It has never meant to be a state. You see all these people saying now, oh, we should have made it a state. We should have made it a state. No. They never wanted, the founders did not want it to be the state. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the District Clause gives Congress the power to create a federal district not exceeding 10 square miles to serve as the seat of government. It was absolutely specific that it would not be a state. Why? Because they didn't want it to have senators. They didn't want to have representatives. And then you now have leverage, so to speak, politically over the U.S. government because you're now in the state of D.C. or wherever the head would be. It was deliberate that they did not want it to be a state. It was even cited by Madison and Federalist 43. Crime rate in D.C., I did a whole bunch of stats on this today. Crime rate in D.C. is down for serious felonies. But do you know why? The reason is not what they want you to think. The reason is, for some reason, near the end of 2024, I wonder why, all of a sudden the Parks Police, the DOJ, the ATF, they started doing a whole bunch of enforcement in DC area, which they have the right to do because it's a federal land. They started doing a lot of operations. They were going after gangs. They were going after drugs. They were going after guns. Their soft on crime policies that were passed by the city council in 2022 were not working. And since they enacted that, crime went through the roof in DC, through the roof. Now, that's not the only reason stats are down. In 2022, only 33% of adult arrests were charged. Think about that. That's what they were doing. They're cooking the books. They just had Ricky in the chat room posted earlier today on X. They just had a commander of the DC police in July get suspended because he was found to be cooking crime stats, not making them higher, making them lower. They are doing things at the DC District Attorney's Office that includes taking a felony and breaking it down and charging them with misdemeanors. We see that a lot in California. Case in point, you have an unarmed robbery. An unarmed robbery is when somebody uses force or fear to take somebody else's items. What they'll do is they'll break it down to either an assault or an assault and battery and charge them there. And then over here, they'll charge them with like theft from a person or simple theft or petty theft, depending on what the code says specifically. And they make it 2 misdemeanors. What does that do? That takes away the felony of the unarmed robbery, and it now takes it down to misdemeanors. And on misdemeanors, they were only filing at 25% of the felonies downgraded to misdemeanors. So now you've taken this big chunk of felonies that are no longer felonies because you've made them misdemeanors, and then they're only filing on a quarter of those. So you're essentially making them go away. They did this in California. They're still doing it. They've kind of brought it back with that law that we passed in November, but it's still happening. So they make it seem, well, there's not as much crime. No. There is. As a matter of fact, they have a tremendous youth crime issue right now in DC. Under 18 juvenile crimes, which factor in differently as well. Juvenile crime's through the roof. It's down a little bit this year, but a lot of those cases just aren't being charged. By the way, their truancy level has tripled since 2010. That is these kids going to school. So the other reason why the schools have decent averages in some places, because some of the kids just aren't going. I'm going to say that again. This tells you this is a parent issue. Since mid-2010s, the truancy has tripled. That's a huge number. This is a city that is going in the wrong direction. So the reason Trump cares, and it's not like Chicago or New York or any other city, yeah, Trump cares about those other cities too. But the reason why Trump cares is because it's the U.S. Capitol. It's where our government is. That's where when people go to see their government, when they go to see the Lincoln Memorial, the U.S. Capitol, when foreign dignitaries come in, all of that stuff, it looks like a demilitarized zone. If you've ever been to D.C. and you go outside of where the center of government is for the federal government, it is a demilitarized zone. D.C. is not a pretty place. It's a rough place. Trump was talking about this before he got elected. This is our capital. It should be clean. It should be safe. They have more law enforcement in D.C. than most other cities in the world because you have the Secret Service. And by the way, because that is a federal place, it is a federal district. It is not a private city. It is not. It is not a state. It is not its own entity. All the federal agencies have authority in and around DC. The ATF, the Parks Police, Secret Service, Department of Energy Police. There are more law enforcement per capita in DC than I think anywhere else in the world. There's no reason why DC is not a safe place. Now, you had who is it? What's the city councilman there say? Oh, no. The district attorney in DC say today, you can't arrest your way out of crime. No, that's exactly what you can do. Are there other things that you could do in certain situations to help? Yeah, sure. But guess what? When bad guys know they're going to go to jail and then they're going to be prosecuted and then they're potentially going to go to prison, that keeps them from wanting to do that. This is not, that's why crime went through the roof after you went on the soft on crime theory in 2022. It skyrocketed in DC. And I think DC is still like, what, the fourth in homicides. It was fifth. It actually went up, and that's not a good thing last year. It's just, 188 carjackings to date. DC's a 10 square mile area. It's not that big. 898 incidents of robbery. Thank you, Ricky Robinson. I guess you are hanging around for the rest of the show. It is absolutely horrible, and there is no need for it. None whatsoever. Yeah, no, and a lot of crimes, Jeremy, thank you for being here, is not being reported to NIBRS and NCIC. And they do that on purpose. This is why California post-COVID said, oh, well, crime's down. Well, it's just how you're just not reporting it. The other thing that nobody talks about too, and a lot of big cities now, if you have anything under a felony, or even if you have a felony and maybe there's no suspect information or there's a couple of other circumstances, they refer you to do a report online so they don't have to send a cop to you, right? Well, unless somebody needs it for insurance, i.e. my car got broken into and stolen, or my house got broken into and I need to do my homeowner's insurance. And even a lot of those homeowners insurance, as long as you have a call number, it's not a police report. And a lot of people aren't going online to a police report because they honestly, and I know a bunch of people who have been in this exact situation. My history is law enforcement and public safety. I know people both as victims and as friends or whatever who say, yeah, I'm not going online to do a report. That's why I called the police to come to me to take the report. I don't know what to put in there. I might leave information out, and they do, yada, yada, yada. What does that do? That dips down the numbers even further. People aren't reporting that. And then a lot of those reports will get screened and say, well, they don't have enough information to meet the elements of the crime. This is essentially an information only. It doesn't count as a crime stat. These are how they cook their books. This all started with Bill Bratton and CompStat. CompStat was essentially a way to identify where most crime was happening and how to act like it wasn't. Is really, if you ask me, that's what it really came down to. Ask anyone who ever had to deal with CompStat, and if you had a good chief or a good boss, yeah, it was used properly. But if you didn't, that's exactly what it was used for. We're going to review all of these crimes in our CompStat meeting, and then we're going to turn around and decide whether or not they actually meet the elements of the crime that they're saying it is, and if not, we'll knock it down or kick it. And I know of police chiefs who would go through all of the major felonies that week, and if they could find a way to kick it down to a misdemeanor, they would, because it looked better for them. That's all it's become. So yeah, they could say, oh, well, DC's crime's down a little bit. By the way, that's like saying, well, I got rid of most of my cancer, so the ones that's left is fine. What are you worried about the other cancer? I got rid of most of the cancer. No, it's still a cancer. You still have a really high rate of crime. It's just lower than what it was for reasons that we talked about. It doesn't mean that it's okay. It doesn't mean that it's fine to say, well, it's better than it was. Yeah, it's good that it's trending in the right direction, but is it really trending in the right direction, or are you reporting that it's trending in the right direction? So for the next 30 days, the federal government, the DOJ, Janine Pirro, they are going to be in charge of the DC police. Part of this, yes, is 100% political. And I will tell you why. Because after 30 days, if you're cleaning up these streets, if you have officers out there and you have all those federal resources sitting there to assist, the parks police alone is huge. I don't know how many people there are, but there's a lot of park cops. If all of a sudden you make the city that much better and the voters see that, like, oh, wow, maximum enforcement actually does something. It actually cleans up the street. It makes it a little bit safer. I don't have the junkie sitting on my front steps every night, and I wonder if he's going to come in and assault my family because he needs another fix. Oh, look, my car was there for more than 2 days in a row without getting stolen. What does that do politically? That says, well, hold on. These other people that say they represent me and they're going to take care of me and they're doing all the right things for the last 30 years, because that's what DC's, it's how long Democrats have run DC and run it into the fucking ground. But now you're showing the people that live there, oh, what if this was all a scam that these Democrats are saying to us, and that actually police aren't bad. Enforcing laws aren't bad, specifically violent crimes, person-on-person crimes. Property crimes suck too, don't get me wrong. But all of a sudden, you show them that things could be better if you allow the cops and the public safety system, the criminal justice system to work. And, oh, Phantom, I expect a letter as to why you were late in my mailbox by morning. That is a demerit. Thank you for being here this evening. I appreciate it. But yeah, so now you're showing these people, hey, your government was letting you down. Your local government was letting you down. The resources are here to be able to protect you and take care of you. And if the federal agencies are making the arrests and enforcing the law and even just walking, look, they put beat cops back out in some of these parks. I'll tell you right now, I walked a foot beat for a couple years, 3-4 years. Ask Big E. One of the most effective methods for neighborhood policing are foot beat units. Not because they're going to chase, get in car chases or yada, 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 but because everybody knows that you could be coming around that corner in a moment. Everybody knows that you know who everybody else is. The cops get to know the shitheads in your neighborhood like that. Well, now you can start identifying things. You're on viewing things from an alley. So instead of somebody calling 911 and then you show up 10 minutes later, you're there right now. You're on viewing the crime. Numerous arrests that I made were all on viewed. We come around the corner. Holy shit, there's a drug deal. Come around the corner. Oh my God, they ran and dropped that gun. It is effective. And I saw a video of it out today. They're out doing foot beats. They're doing actual enforcement. The community policing aspect is dead, but the neighborhood policing aspect is not. Community policing is an old, it was outdated before it went into effect. You put a cop on every corner, you put a cop walking around, and the opposite to that idea is the good people learn who the cops are too. And you're now making relationships with good people. And maybe people that didn't like the police before, but they didn't cause any problems, they're now shaking hands and nodding and saying hi to their local beat cop. And it matters. Even if they're federal cops, it matters. So is this political? Yeah. This could show people in District of Columbia what happens when you have safer neighborhoods. What happens when you have things enforced? What happens when the thugs don't run the streets? Will this improve the image of the federal government nationwide? Yes. If you've never been to DC, if you've never done the Vietnam Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, if you've never done the museums, if you've never done any of that stuff, you should. And you should be able to do it in a safe manner where you don't have to look over your shoulder or walk through 4 neighborhoods that you're taking your life in your hands to get to them. It's beautiful. DC is beautiful on Capitol grounds, on federal grounds, at the museums, all the parks, the National Memorial. It's all gorgeous. The reflecting pool. I tell everybody that part is absolutely amazing, and it should always be safe and amazing. It matters. It is the face of our nation. So I know they're all freaking out and, oh, this is the conspiracy theorists. This is just step 1. He's going to do it here. He already did it in LA. No, he activated the National Guard and the Marines to protect federal buildings in LA. They weren't driving around lynching people off the streets. But if you showed up to that federal building to cause a problem, they were there to stop you to do that. It's not the first time it happened, won't be the last time it happened. I guarantee you. Oh, now he's doing this in DC. It's a federal district. He can do it in DC. As a matter of fact, you know how you know he legally can do it in DC? Because nobody's coming out on the left right now saying, oh, he's going to file a lawsuit for this and a lawsuit for that, blah, 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 blah. Even the Democrats just essentially put out on their X like, boo-boo face, this makes us sad. He shouldn't be doing this, but they didn't say he couldn't do it. They admitted, yeah, no, he can do this. That doesn't mean he's all of a sudden going to suspend posse comitatus. It doesn't mean he's going to, but it does mean that maybe he's going to offer those services like he did in Portland before, like he's done in Chicago for. Hey, we'll give you the ATF. We'll give you the DEA. We'll give you the FBI to get some of your bigger problems off the street. And all these people who are somehow against low crime blow my fucking mind. You Democrats, man, I'll tell you right now, when I make the joke that Trump's tears could cure cancer, and you say, oh, that's bullshit. No. If Trump's tears cured cancer, you'd be mad he didn't cry enough. There's no right answer for you. And it's just orange man bad. This is why you poll at 33%, because you know what? Even your own people are sick of orange man bad behavior. Why don't you, Muriel Bowser, or other people step up and go, you know what? I am really glad. I don't agree with him on 99% of stuff, but I'm really glad he's going to help out our district and try to make it safer for our people. This is just like I'm boo-boo faced because I was told I wasn't good enough, and everybody used to tell me I was good enough, and I'm good enough, and the big orange man's going to come in here and prove me wrong. Oh, well, tough shit. You've had a long time to fix it, and you haven't. And it could be a message sent. And guess what? This will force Democrats who have no leadership, no direction, zero whatsoever original ideas on how to make this country better. They just keep marching down socialism road, backing people like Mondami. That's their big play. You have Jasmine Crockett, who sits on her couch all day and berates all of her employees and treats them like shit. And then hides behind, they're only saying this because I'm a woman and I'm black. No. I don't think that you were hiring people that didn't like you or didn't want to work for you, that had an axe to grind, until you gave them a reason to grind it. Until you treated them like shit and they're like, you know what? Fuck her. And that's exactly what they did. That's why these people came out and said, yeah, no, it's a horrible place. Where else did we see that recently? Another big name, liberal female politician that had high turnover rate and people hated working for her, Kamala. You go back into the turnover rate in the vice president's office, and you remember all the stories that are coming out of how she was a terrible boss and a terrible leader and treating people like shit. Here you go again. Jasmine doing the same thing. It's entitlement. It's this idea when you've been told your whole life that nothing you do is wrong because you're groomed for this position, and you're supposed to just get there and shut up and vote how you want, which is exactly what the left wants their members to do. Hey, we got you here. Just show up and shut up. But they're to the point now where everything they've done for so long has been said, oh, you're perfect. This is right. Great. Good idea. Good for you. You matter. You're in power. Blah. That they don't realize that they have to actually act in a way that is suiting their position. So you get Kamala, who had the highest turnover rate, I think, out of any friggin' vice president ever. You had Jazzy, who would not show up to work half the time. And then I'm sure if you've ever had a boss you don't like, you look forward to the days that she didn't show up. But she stayed at home. And then when she did show up, she treated everybody like shit. And on the phone calls and having people run her errands, from what I've heard, all of this stuff shows you who she really is. And by the way, and I know Earl likes to call her Ratchet, she's only Ratchet by choice. Remember, she grew up upper middle class. She went to elite colleges and law school. And when she was campaigning, she didn't talk like that. Trump's a piece of shit. No. She was clear and well-spoken and pleasant and nice, and said that she had ideas and smiled a lot and joked a lot and was really friendly. Yada. She's only acting like Ratchet now for the same reason why everybody's jumping on social media and trying to copy Trump and how they approach it. Like I said, Gavin Newsom does nothing right now but try to go on social media since January and try to score points the way Trump used to. Sounding like a tough guy, making all these statements, constantly like, where you at now? Stuff that Gavin Newsom never said before. Because this is what they learned from the last election. This is why they think people voted for Trump, was for the social media points. Yeah, we get a kick out of it. We enjoy it, but it wasn't that. You made him famous there. You made him famous by prosecuting him over bullshit that wasn't even real. You made him famous by a mugshot. That's how he became famous. Why he got elected, or more famous, I should say, to be corrected. Why he got elected is because he actually spoke to the people he was trying to reach and get to vote for him. He made them feel recognized, seen, understood, that he wanted to do something for them and not just capitulate to every group within MAGA. Because as you can see, a lot of the rhinos get pissed at him. No. I'm going to be a president for all of America. I'm going to do this for the country. I'm going to do this to make it better. And there may be hard times before we get to where we want to be. But to the average person, the working class slob, people like me, people like you, I see you. And I want you to be able to be successful. No, people say, he didn't mean that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, but he said it. And he said it in such a way that it touched people. Yeah, he threw his barbs at people when it was time to throw barbs at people. But when he was talking to his people, his voting base, his followers, he was actually talking to them, not at them, which is what Democrats do every day now. They talk at people. They don't talk to them. And then they wonder why they poll lower than herpes and hemorrhoids. And that's exactly why. And that's the point of tonight's show. Democrats continue to shoot themselves in the foot. Look, as you see in my graphic right here, I don't know if it'll show it all the way. I'm eating popcorn and watching. I love it. I love to see them eat their own. I love to see them shoot themselves in their own foot. They're on a boat in the middle of the ocean and they're drilling holes in the bottom and telling people they're saving everybody. It's wonderful. Love to see it. But this is why they're there. And they're not going to recover. They have yet to show any signs of turning the corner, and I'm fucking here for it. I said it before, I'll say it again. At this point, all JD Vance has to do is show up, and he will be the next president. No questions asked. All he has to do is show up, because the left is going to kill themselves. And as long as the conservatives get their shit together just a little bit more, they don't even have to do a lot more, just a little bit more to move this country in the right direction, people will see that and be thankful. Call it what you will. But folks, that's it for me. I am back. I appreciate it. I'll be back Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, right here on the SHR Media Network, and with our good friends over at KLRN Radio. Make sure you check them out every Monday and Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. You're the Reaver of Common Sense with my buddy Jersey Joe. He's still been under the weather, but it won't be for too long, I don't think. You have Mission Ready Men Tuesday and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 on the East Coast, right here on SHR Media. Check them out on YouTube. And Tuesday and Thursday nights. And the man who loves to throw a good special out on a Saturday or Friday night, Beezy's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Check him out. I hope you have a great week. Remember what a very, 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 very smart, sage-like person said to me is, watch out where the Huskies go, and don't you eat that yellow snow. I'll see you Wednesday.